Football is the most popular sport in the world, a sport that attracts worldwide attention from fans all across the world in every continent. A sport that is adored by so many is even referred to as being the beautiful game. However, football also has its flaws as well: corruption, fraud, and in the case of today's video, even murder. This is a tragic tale of Andres Escobar. Andres Escobar was born in 1967 in Medellin, Colombia, and was raised by a middle-class family with his father Dario Escobar, a banker who founded an organization in Colombia that helped give young people the opportunity to play football instead of being in the streets. And Andres Escobar, like most other kids in the area, picked up a love for football from an early age, playing for teams in the local area until eventually signing a pro contract with Atletico Nacional in 1985, where he would pick up the centre-back position, being known for his on-the-ball composure and calmness on the pitch, giving him the nickname the Gentleman, making his international debut in 1988 in a 3-0 win against Canada, and also playing 4 games at the 1989 Copa America. And after impressing European scouts, Escobar would move to Young Boys in Switzerland. After winning the Copa Libertadores with Nacional, he would only make 8 appearances for the club before moving back to Nacional a year later. By 1990, Colombia had qualified for the 1990 World Cup in Italy, and during this period of time, Colombia had what was considered their golden generation, consisting of players such as Freddy Rincon, Carlos Valderrama, and Faustino Asprilla, with Andres Escobar being selected as the national team captain. And Colombia got off to a good start in Italia 90, finishing 3rd in their group and making their way to the round of 16. However, Colombia's golden generation's run in the World Cup was cut short by a round of 16 exit, losing to Cameroon 2-1 in extra time. However, Colombia held their heads high, losing 1 game out of 26 in their run up to the 1994 World Cup in the United States, with many fans claiming them to be the dark horses of the tournament, and football legends such as Pelé predicting them to go far in the tournament. However, despite all the on-field positivity for Colombia, the country had major off-the-pitch issues, with one of which being one of the most notorious drug traffickers of all time, Pablo Escobar, who I'm sure a majority of you have heard of, being one of the wealthiest criminals of all time, amassing a net worth equivalent to $70 billion in today's money, being known for being the leader of the Medellin cartel, trafficking cocaine throughout South America and parts of America as well. However, all large-scale drug traffickers need ways of cleaning money, otherwise known as money laundering, and Atletico Nacional, which Andres Escobar played for, was the perfect way for Pablo Escobar to achieve this. Let me explain. Pablo Escobar owned Atletico Nacional and was able to launder money through ticket sales and other matchday revenues, making his illegal drug trafficking operations look legitimate, leading to a lot of drug money being poured into South American football. However, after Escobar was killed in 1993, many believed this would be a turning point, not just for Colombian football, but for Colombia as a whole. However, the opposite occurred, as surprisingly, Pablo Escobar was actually the one keeping control over the criminal underworld, and after his death, things just spun out of control, and everyone became their own boss, according to Escobar's cousin, Jaime Guevara, and the off-pitch issues started to lead into the footballing world. And moving on to the 1994 World Cup in the United States, things weren't going good for Colombia, despite their high expectations and their golden generation of players, losing their first game of the tournament against Romania 3-1, and this is where things started to get progressively worse, as after the loss to Romania, players of the Colombian national team, including coach Francesco Maturana, were sent numerous death threats by criminal club owners and other members of the criminal underworld in Colombia. Of course, not surprisingly, this dropped the morale in the dressing room for Colombia and took a toll on the team's mental health overall, with Maturana being reduced to tears in the pre-game dressing room talk before Colombia's second game against host USA, which was to be Escobar's last ever match. And after starting the game fairly well, things took a turn for the worst when American midfielder John Harkes played in a cross which was accidentally deflected in their own net by captain Andres Escobar, who was just trying to clear the ball, giving the USA a 1-0 lead and eventually leading to a 2-1 loss after the full-time whistle, where Colombia's World Cup run came to an end. And after Colombia's exit, Escobar returned home to Medellin straight away, instead of visiting relatives in Las Vegas. And in order to take his mind off things, Escobar and his friends would go to one of the local bars in Medellin before heading to El Indio, a nightclub in the local area, despite even being warned to lay low by head coach Maturana. And after a few hours at the nightclub, things were going alright, until a confrontation started with 2 other men in the bar, who were allegedly mocking Escobar for his own goal in the World Cup. And a few hours later, Escobar heads out of the nightclub and goes to the car park to clear his head, and eventually make his way home, until he's confronted by the men at the bar and gets into an altercation with them, leading to 6 bullets being fired into the back of Escobar, with the murderers shouting "Goal" after every shot, as a way of mocking Escobar, and shortly after, Escobar would be rushed to hospital, but sadly he would not make it despite the doctor's best efforts, leading him to lose his life at just 27 years old. And shortly after, Escobar's funeral was attended by hundreds of thousands of fellow Colombians who collectively mourned the footballer's death, with many theorizing that Escobar's death was down to gamblers and drug dealers' money. And after deeper investigation, the Gallon brothers, who were former members of Pablo Escobar's cartel, were identified as the prime suspects of the murder. However, after paying off a military officer $3 million to divert prosecution, Humberto Castro Munoz, a bodyguard for the brothers, was given 43 years in prison. But through Colombia's corrupt legal system, he was out after just 11 years on good behaviour. But despite this, many people still believe this isn't the true killer of Andres Escobar. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know if you want to see more of these types of videos in the future. If you're new around here, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe because it always helps. And thanks for watching. This has been Discussing Ball.